Hello, greetings from the Blessed Michael McGivney Center in New Haven, Connecticut. It's a joy to welcome you to this fourth and final presentation about our online baseball exhibit, KFC Baseball Heading for Home. Joining me is my friend and the author of this online exhibit, Andy Fowler. Probably the only person that I know who is more of a baseball enthusiast than I am. Uh, Andy, it's a joy to welcome you. It's a special day because today, October 7th, 2022, is the beginning of the Major League Baseball playoffs. In fact, one of the games has already completed. We're talking at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and already the Cleveland Guardians have defeated today the Tampa Bay Rays, and
Yep.
we've got St. Louis battling the Phillies as we
Yep.
speak. So we're delighted that we've got some people who might be watching our webcast and have the other eye on their television sets.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be cut in at the same time as the game, if people are watching both the games and in our webinar. But it's good to be back, Peter. Thanks for so much for having me. It's great to always talk about baseball with you.
It truly is, and I'm grateful for your interest in the game. I'm grateful for the work that you've done in preparing this exhibit and making it so accessible to Knights and others. Andrew, it's it's so phenomenal, I guess is the term that I'll use, that both of these well-known institutions, Major League Baseball and the Knights of Columbus, had their births about the same time in the late 19th century and have grown up together. And
Yep.
in so many ways, their paths have crossed and they continue to cross. We talked
Yeah.
about those early days of McGivney in our first session. We then went on to the war years, and last time you talked an awful lot about the transition in baseball, in the overcoming the color barrier, and today we're going to talk about the present day. We're going to talk about what Major League Baseball players are Knights of Columbus and how it impacts their lives and I suppose their approach to the game of baseball. But I want to say, first of all, anyone who's watching, you're welcome. There is a question mark utility. Well, the question mark is an icon, but it will allow you to use a utility to send us a question. So if you're interested, you have a thought, and you'd like to send it along, please do. We'll monitor that throughout. Um, but I also want to say it's being recorded. So if you miss a portion of it, or if you'd like to share this with somebody afterwards, or just watch it yourself again, you're welcome to do so. Uh, the link will be on the Knights of Columbus, excuse me, not the Knights of Columbus Museum. I'm still in my old habits. The Blessed Michael McGivney Pilgrimage Center YouTube site. So look for it there, and you can see as well the other uh, webinars that Andy and I have done. And by the way, this will also be added to the online exhibit. So if you're looking for the online exhibit, and I hope you are, michaelmcgivneycenter.org, michaelmcgivneycenter.org. When you land on the homepage, there is a drop-down menu, and you can look under exhibits for online exhibits. You'll find the baseball exhibit listed there. Click the link and follow it. All four of Andy's segments, first base, second base, third base, and home, are all live and active now. You can follow the exhibit in its entirety.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I,
it's all ready.
well, I think I've covered all of my bases, Mr. Fowler, at least preliminarily.
Tip of the cat.
Is there anything that you want to do to set things up before I turn the program over to you entirely?
No, I think you hit everything, hit every nail on the head. So,
All righty,
yeah, we could get started.
So I'm
If
just
you
going to
want, and then
disappear for a minute and pay attention to what you're saying, and I'll be back at the end of your conclusion, and we can chat a little more and hopefully address some questions.
sounds good.
Take her away, sir.
All right. Well, Thank you, Peter, once again, and thank you to our audience for welcoming me back to discuss the final chapter of KFC Baseball, an American story. And it's strange to say that the Blessed Michael McGivney Pilgrimage Center took on this project about a year ago to coincide with last year's playoffs. It just goes to show you how much time flies. But I'm glad to be back to continue talking about this unique story and fun tidbits about the Order's connections to the national pastime. In this chapter, which is called Home, I'll be highlighting modern day players, as Peter mentioned, who've not only played in the show, but have also been men of virtue, men of faith, and have been in or reported to have been in Knights of Columbus, as well as the ongoing charity efforts, Knights councils across the United States and into Canada, how they use baseball as a tool for charity. But if this is your first time joining one of the Knights of Columbus baseball discussions, no need to fear. I'll go over what it's like, what we've talked about so far. And just to note, like as Peter mentioned as well, all these chapters and discussions and videos are online to view at any time. So, but like I mentioned, First Base was released in October last year, and that explored how Knights of Columbus councils around the turn of the 20th century used baseball as a way of building fraternity amongst each other. And KFC baseball leagues spread throughout pretty rapidly throughout the United States and Canada. And these weren't amateurish leagues, but they were filled with semi and professional ball players. And they were very popular. Like one league in Chicago had about 40 plus teams. And not only that, but First Base really exhibits the titans of early baseball, many of whom are Hall of Famers like Connie Mack, John McGraw, Nat Lajoie, and Johnny Evers. And it explores how the Knights of Columbus's founder, Father Michael J. McGivney, used the game as a way of fostering a strong community in the parishes he served in New Haven and in Thomaston, Connecticut. But Second Base was more focused on three specific topics: how the Knights of Columbus supplied baseball for Allied troops during World War I, which served as a reminder of home and a distraction from the horrors of war. And to give you a sense of the scale, though, this is just one neat little tidbit that more than 5,000 games were played daily with KFC baseball equipment. I mean, that's just tremendous. This was no baseball. It was really part of providing those creature comforts for soldiers overseas. But this chapter also explores how individual knights' role in the Black Sox scandal, excuse me, and salvaging the game's integrity. Even the Knights of Columbus magazine at one point said when there were rumors that one or a few of the players were part of the Black Sox, one of the 8 who tried to throw the World Series, 1919 World Series, Columbia magazine printed out "No Black Sox here." it's in they were bold about it. I can't overstate how much that scandal nearly destroyed the reputation of the game. But and also this exhibit, as you can see here, we talked a lot about the great Bambino himself. He's probably the most prominent member of the Knights of Columbus in the Order's history. But we more so look at his faith journey from incorrigible, as he was described as a young boy, to making a full confession at the end of his life, as well as councils working with the Babe to bring baseball across the United States at a time when no MLB team existed past the Mississippi River. But third base was third base featured stories about Knight of Columbus Joe DiMaggio, who made his first degree in February 1939, and his overall impact on the game. I mean, second to maybe Babe Ruth, Jackie Robinson, Joe DiMaggio is up there for one of the most influential players in the game's history. We also talked about Zeke Benura, who was a member primarily of the Chicago White Sox in the 1930s, who promoted the game worldwide during World War II and was awarded the Legion of Merit personally by General Dwight Eisenhower. and also explores individual knights' role in promoting racial equality in the national pastime. As I mentioned here, that John McGraw tried to integrate the game. Eddie Stanky, who was a member of the Dodgers, defending Jackie Robinson, and even the Knights of Columbus hosting an interfaith baseball game to honor Jackie Robinson as well. And also, it talks about this unique fact that the Knights of Columbus actually owned the land to Yankee Stadium from the mid 1950s to 1973. So there's a lot to explore, and even neat tidbits in the galleries. Don't forget those in the gallery sections, like one of the popes approving of a KFC baseball program for the children of Rome. But you'll find in home base at least more video content, which shout out to my friend David Naglieri if he's watching now or later, but for really laying the groundwork for this portion of the exhibit. And also, if I may divert a little bit, go see his new movie about Mother Teresa, the documentary. I understand that they've just expanded more shows, more showtime. So check your local listings. I saw it with my mom the other day. It's fantastic. But now that that aside, now that the crash course is over, but since the launch of the first chapter of the exhibit, I've been approached by several people, and I believe we actually got a few questions about this in previous webinars about more modern day knights and how who are also men of faith and how faith impacted their lives. And now the who's who will be answered a little bit, but I'm only going to go highlight a few in this presentation. There are plenty more online in the exhibit. But we begin with Gil Hodges, who was, I should stress, was a reported member of the Knights of Columbus. It's not totally confirmed, but however, he's exhibited here because my friend David, as I mentioned before, and Spirit Juice Studios produced the documentary, The Gil Hodges Story, The Soul of a Champion, which was released this past December, and it advocated for his induction into the Hall of Fame, which now he is a member of the Hall of Fame, but most importantly explores his faith life. He was a man of great faith and great character and revered by his teammates and fans alike. Jackie Robinson actually referred to him once as the quote core of the Brooklyn Dodgers. I mean, that's a pretty powerful statement, especially in the 1940s and 1950s Dodgers teams. And his temperament when he became a manager inspired the Mets in 1969 to that later turned their season prospects around to defeating the Baltimore Orioles in the World Series. It was truly a David versus Goliath type of series, and now that team is more famously known as the Miracle Mets. You'll also see Ron Guidry, who was in the news the other day because Garrett Cole broke a record Guidry set. But and he's referred to, his nickname is also known as the Louisiana Lightning. He had arguably one of the greatest seasons for a pitcher in Major League history when he went 25-3 with an ERA of 1.74 with the New York Yankees in 1978. He ended up winning the Cy Young that year. And he was really the glue that held that at first dysfunctional team together. And the Yankees eventually found their way, got their act together, and went on to win the World Series that year. But Guidry joined the Knights of Columbus in 1993 and was described by a brother Knight that, quote, he's always willing to get involved with our projects. His work with the Knights and with his family is a real expression of his faith. And that's included in the book By Their Works, which showcases prominent Knights who had a positive impact on the community at large. And then there's Mike Sweeney, the former captain of the Kansas City Royals, who's now enshrined in the team's Hall of Fame. He was enshrined back in 2015, and he played 16 years in the majors. But that is secondary to his faith. He speaks about the integration of Catholic teaching in his family life, not only in Everyday Heroes, but also Into the Breach, both of which were produced by the Knights of Columbus, and both of which exemplify men of virtue. More specifically, though, he discusses the importance of fatherhood, saying, quote, being a great father is about putting the spotlight on number one, Christ. He also refers to fatherhood as a priesthood, meaning it's incumbent on him to help guide his family into heaven. But as you can see here, he's a member of Holy Family Council 8882 in New Haven, Connecticut, and he's also chairman on the advisory board for Catholic Athletes for Christ. But both of those videos for Everyday Heroes and Into the Breach are available to watch as well in the exhibit. And then there is even more currently, there is Trevor Williams, who is on the New York Mets. He was recently interviewed by Columbia Magazine in, I think, the September issue, stating, "My faith, quote, my faith is a constant, adding, it's the most important thing in my life, my wife's life, and our family's life." And he puts his faith into action through Project 34, which assists purchasing medical equipment and assistive devices to patients with spinal cord injuries. Williams founded Project 34 after his friend Corey Hahn at Arizona State University suffered a career-ending spinal cord injury while sliding headfirst into second base, and 34 was Hahn's number. But I don't believe Trevor is on the Mets playoff roster right now. But regardless, for all those Mets fans watching, I believe there's probably one watching, at least one I'm sure about. There's a brother Knight who might need a few extra prayers to get a ring. But personally, I am rooting for a Subway Series, but I'm rooting for the better squad in New York, which from the Bronx. So anyway, but there are several other Knights who are exhibited, such as the Chicago Cubs chaplain, Father Burke Masters, who was part of the organization when the team broke the World Series drought in 2016. There's a former pitcher, Trevor Miller, and Daryl Miller, who was a former utility player but now runs the Compton Youth Academy for Major League Baseball, as well as other modern day players like the Flying Hawaiian Shane Victorino, Jeff Supan, who won the NLCS Series MVP in 2006, and Craig Stammen, who is a pitcher for the San Diego Padres. So the Mets and Padres are playing against each other tonight at 8 o'clock. But now, what about the Knights of Columbus leagues from yesteryear that we mentioned in first base? Like the teams that featured a Hall of Famer like Ross Youngs. He played for the San Antonio team in 1916. But do those leagues still exist? Sadly, no, not really. Those leagues didn't really survive into the new millennium, but nor did they survive even into the mid 20th century. But that did not mean the Knights of Columbus forgot about baseball. Quite the opposite, really. Instead of showcasing already developed talent, Knights of Columbus councils throughout the United States and Canada shifted gears by providing an athletic outlet for children and young teenagers. I mean, this photo is just one example of the many junior squires baseball clubs that the Knights supported around the 1950s. But by 1971, the Knights of Columbus reportedly had more than 1 million young people participating in youth programs organized by councils and assemblies, which included more than 1,000 Little League and football teams. And councils sponsored teams, particularly those that included children with special needs. But now, from the 1970s to the present day, Knights in Action section in Columbia has been filled with examples of the Knights putting their faith into action using baseball as a way of charity and evangelization, and also promoting community. It's a pretty exhaustive list, and there's a big list in the exhibit. But again, I don't want to be too cumbersome, but these are a few examples that I thought I should highlight. Like in 1988, the Knights of Columbus hosted the National Softball Tournament in Lafayette, Louisiana, which featured 28 teams from 17 states. And despite apparently Tropical Storm Deborah showering the area, the weather didn't stop play, and a team from Wisconsin ended up winning. But let me tell you, playing in the rain, I don't know if anyone's played baseball in the rain. It's not the greatest time. I mean, soaked socks and sliding in mud, and oh man, going back to my little league days. But another example, by 1990, Topeka, Kansas Council 534 had been sponsoring a baseball, softball, and t-ball tournament, program for 20 years, and more than 10,000 Topeka residents participated in the program. According to the Knights in Action submission, the program, quote, inspired kids to love the game and also learn the fundamentals of teamwork, sportsmanship, and other positive Christian principles through this council program. And the council also maintained the facilities, which was a nearly 70-acre complex, coached, furnished equipment, and organized Special Olympics tournament exhibition games. And another example, in 2011, Holy Family Council 14520 in New York sponsored a marathon 24-hour youth baseball game for charity. And the event, as says here, raised more than $30,000 for a number of charitable causes like the Fisher House and St. Mary's Hospital for Children in Queens. And fairly recently, at least I think it was a few months ago, Star of the Sea Council 371 in New Jersey supported the city's Buddy Baseball, which is, for those unfamiliar, that's a program for mentally and physically challenged residents ages 3 to 25. And as part of the program, Buddies assist players according to their needs. It's an outlet and therapeutic and socialization outlet for the participants. And this photo, for reference, is a council in Pennsylvania that maintains the Little League ball field in Renovo. I hope I pronounced that right. I don't know if there are any Pennsylvanians out there that are critiquing my pronunciation, but anyway. But suffice it to say, these efforts mirror the work of Father McGivney, who utilized, as I said before, baseball as a tool for bringing the community together and thereby being an avenue for evangelization. It's been a practical way for Knights to demonstrate the principles of the order, which are charity, unity, fraternity, and patriotism. So this all comes back to Father McGivney, at least the exhibit. It all comes back to him and his role in the life of the church. I don't think it's purely coincidental that there are these great connections between the Knights of Columbus's founder, the Knights of Columbus, and America's national pastime, as we have seen since first base. It started from a ball field in Niagara Falls, where the KFC founder played the game with his seminary and colleagues, to literally the house that Ruth built. There's a through line, and it's interesting to see how both organized baseball and the Knights of Columbus growth is nearly parallel in the course of American history. Like Peter mentioned before, they grew up together. But with that, this is my pitch for those watching. Perhaps it's not far-fetched to believe and hope that one day Father McGivney may be recognized as the patron of baseball. And right now, I think it's unofficially St. Rita because of the movie The Rookie. But here's a saintly man who we know played the game and cared about the game, and that love, I think, has had a ripple effect, not only through the organization, but for the game as a whole. And by using the game, the Knights have done a lot of good for a lot of people who needed it most. As Knights, we are called to be the face, the hands, the feet, and the heart of Christ here on earth. And baseball has been one of those avenues, as you've seen from the few examples I mentioned earlier. This couldn't have been accomplished without the extraordinary vision of Father McGivney. Giving men a means to support and enrich their respected communities, as well as strengthening their faith lives. You can see this effect in Mike Sweeney's, Trevor Williams's, Daryl Miller's, and others' testimonies that are featured in this part of the exhibit. And it's been Father McGivney's charism that I believe has brought these ball players in particular, closer to God, closer to his son Jesus Christ, and through their involvement in the Knights of Columbus. But during my time researching and writing this exhibit, I've heard on more than one occasion from others about how baseball was introduced to them. And most of them told me they grew to love the game because of their dads. And you'll hear this testimony in Mike Sweeney's section of the exhibit quite in depth. But closer to home, my dad passed on the love of the game to me. I would be remiss if I didn't give him props. and likewise, he, along with my mom, imparted the importance of faith, of putting faith into action. But to bring this back to the Knights of Columbus's mission, I believe there is a crisis of fatherhood today. Like, children need present and engaged fathers to show them love, to show that they care, and frankly, to impart the virtues of the faith to the next generation. And I think, as this picture shows, it's like playing catch is a common act of children spending time with their fathers. So baseball is also a tool for fatherhood. I think of the scene from Field of Dreams where Kevin Costner grows closer to his dad, saying, Dad, you want to have a catch at the end? But there is something there, and I believe that happened in my own life. There's something sacred that bonds a father with their child in a simple act of just playing catch. You just know that the dad is present and everyone's there. And at the end of all this, if there is one takeaway about this exhibit, it's that baseball is more than simply a game. It's a tool for faith. It's a tool for bringing the community together, and it's a tool for engaged fatherhood. And I believe Father McGivney saw the game similarly. And so through Father McGivney's intercession, may it continue to be so for generations to come. But thank you for sticking around. Thank you for indulging me, if you will, for exploring the exhibit so far. It's been a great time researching, great time talking about it. And I just hope you walk away with having a little bit of fun exploring. So thank you so much.
And Andy, thank you. Thank you for all the work that you've done. Thank you for the enthusiasm that you have for the game. Thank you for the enthusiasm that you have for telling this particular story, this nuance, because it is unique. There's no other organization that we can say really has this link with the game of baseball like the Knights of Columbus do. And I have to cite my own experience. You shared with a number of you shared a number of examples of how the game of baseball or softball is enjoyed by councils. The council I belonged to when I lived in the Washington, D.C. area was based in College Park, Maryland, 2809 Prince George's Council. They had their own softball league. And we would play every Sunday afternoon between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And it was a great opportunity for fraternity and fun, and families would come out and enjoy themselves. There was a wonderful picnic grove, and they'd enjoy the ball games all throughout the afternoon, spend time with each other, and just enjoy a setting that brings people together with common interests and a motivation to work with one another. That's what I thought was special about it. You were competing against other fellows in your council, but there was no a little bit of rivalry, but still a great deal of fraternity. So it's a terrific experience. And one of the questions we were asked is, how was Father McGivney introduced to the game of baseball? I'm not sure that I know specifically where and
Yeah.
when it happened, but we do know, as you cited, that he played for a team, the Charter Oaks, in fact, named
Yep.
for the state of Connecticut. And the Connecticut is famous for a particular tree called the Charter Oak, which was in the city of Hartford, the capital city. So these were Connecticut seminarians, of which Michael was among, and they call themselves the Charter Oaks, and they played against other seminarians up there in Niagara.
Yeah,
But
from
we
New
also know,
York, called the Mohawks. Um, but and they just
indeed.
and the Charter Oaks, they won quite handily that game.
Well, I think what's most important is that Father McGivney saw that there was, a way in which to bring people together into an activity that was competitive, that helped people to get some exercise or activity minimally, and just to enjoy one another's company in doing it.
Yeah.
And I think as he moved into his priestly life, he saw that this was another practical way to gather people together from the same community, the same parish, is to invite them to ball games or sometimes the theatrical performances that he hosted
Yeah.
or encouraged. And um, he was a tremendous organizer and really saw that something as basic as a community baseball game could be a wonderful way to instill unity, cooperation, and mutual support for one another in so many other aspects of life.
Yeah. I mean, I can't, I couldn't have said it better myself, Peter. I think again, you hit the nail on the head. It's just, Father McGivney was a powerful organizer of people. And like you mentioned, this extends not only to the Knights of Columbus, but uh, beyond, and like the theater productions and baseball. And I should note, he was the vice president of that baseball team. So maybe he was I don't know for certain, but maybe it's one of the earliest examples of him actually being a leader, cohesively forming a project of banding people together to do something to excel at something. In that case, baseball. He would later go on to organize, I believe, I think like the St. Joseph Society for theater productions. Um, but in any case, uh, the I would say maybe the roots of him organizing men together was started in baseball. I don't think that's such a far-fetched idea, a great leap from being a vice president for that club to helping organize the Knights of Columbus. I think it might have given him a test run, maybe I don't know, but
Absolutely,
yeah,
started and developed, to be sure. So
yeah,
another question is, um, how many members of the Knights of Columbus are in the Baseball Hall of Fame? Do we have a number? I mean, obviously you mentioned Babe Ruth, and we just talked
yeah.
about Gil Hodges. We believe that he was a member. His family suggests to us that he was indeed a member. He's now a new member of the Hall. You mentioned Johnny Evers,
hmm and
who
yeah,
was
Connie
the
Mack,
famous Connie Mack
John
is.
John McGraw, Joe DiMaggio, Nap Lajoie, I believe Hugh Duffy, Wee Willie Keeler. It's definitely like I wish I had the number off the top of my head. I probably should have, but it's I would say 15 or so uh, is a good number.
Imagine
It's
that.
probably around that, yeah. But yeah, because like Ed Walsh was also Knight of Columbus, and I think he still holds the lowest single season ERA um, in Major League history. He pitched for the White Sox. And like I said, Ross Youngs as well. Um, yeah, there are plenty of Hall of Famers that were members of the Knights of Columbus.
So not just men of faith, but exceptional athletes too,
Yeah,
who represented the organization well on the diamond, so to speak.
yeah,
Well, you've already made your fan pick. I was going to challenge you toward the end of this talk to tell me who you were choosing for the winner of the World Series this year, as if I should be surprised about your beloved New York Yankees. My
I
my
know.
beloved Boston Red Sox wound up in the cellar this year, which is disappointing but not uncommon. They will rise from the ashes, however, I'm sure.
I think so. Yeah.
And I admire the work done by Mr. Judge this year in swatting 62 home runs for the Yankees.
Yep.
The holds officially the American League record, and he's eclipsed a couple of other Yankees who hit 60 and 61. In fact, I think Maris's record of 61 has endured for 61 years. Am I correct? Was it
Yeah,
1961
that's
that
right.
he?
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I think I don't know. I feel like I saw this on Twitter, so it could be fake news, but I think there was Aaron Judge hit the 60-second home run when the Yankees were 99 and 62 on the season. So it's like a weird sort of I don't know. It's just too good to be true, maybe, or maybe providential. Who knows? But yeah,
Isn't it nice for him to wait to lose 62 games so he could have that coincidence?
yeah, I know, right? Maybe he planned that out. That's why everyone walked him for so long. Um,
Amazing. Well, I'm going to pick the Mets. I too want to have a Subway Series, and since my beloved Red Sox will be playing golf and watching the World Series on television, um, I'll pick the other team that dislikes the Yankees as much as the Red Sox, and that would be the New York Mets. Whether Trevor Williams is on the roster or not, I hope they pull it out. Gil Hodges, as you said, led the team to the victory. That Miracle Mets squad in '69. So
mhm.
hopefully the Mets can earn another miracle, because Father McGivney needs another miracle.
Ain't that the truth? He does.
It does indeed. And if we get him across that finish line to sainthood, maybe your ambition, your, it seems, life quest that he be named the patron saint of baseball will come to be, and a deserving recognition it would be, indeed. Um, just like the incorrigible one, I think you have this incorrigible ambition, and in so many ways, I admire it.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. It's all about spreading devotion to or getting Father McGivney's story out there. We know he's a powerful intercessor because he has one miracle attributed to him. Um, yeah, so we all need a friend, and I think he could definitely help people get out of their spiritual slumps and maybe actually real slumps. um, but that's not a decision for me to make. But maybe it is going to be a lifelong quest for sure. But this is just the start of it.
Well, I'm truly grateful again, Andy, for all the work that you've done, the research, and like I say, the zeal, the real passion that you bring to sharing these stories, because they are very unique, and we wouldn't have them if it weren't for the work that you've done. So again, Michael McGivney Center.org. Look for the link for exhibits and then online exhibits. You'll find the baseball exhibit listed among online exhibits, and all four of the segments of Andy's online exhibit are there: first, second, third base, and home. He detailed some of the highlights of the other presentations for you to start his talk today, and you'll find all of that there. And we hope that you'll enjoy and share that exhibit with others, baseball fans and Knights of Columbus alike, because it's a unique story to tell. And Mr. Fowler, thank you so much for joining me today. And good luck to your New York Yankees, but not too much.
So yeah,
I
just a
think
note.
26 is a sufficient number, and don't try to flip that 26 and 62 thing with me because it ain't gonna work.
What? Hey, you never know. Come on. No, thank you, Peter. Thank you so much for letting me do this.
You're welcome. And please, again, you'll find on the exhibit this talk. Share it with others. You'll find it also on the YouTube channel for the McGivney Center. If ever you are in the city of New Haven, we hope that you'll make it a point to come to the McGivney Center and look at not only the life and vision of Father Michael McGivney, but his legacy, which is the Knights of Columbus and the outstanding achievements that the organization has accomplished throughout its 140 years, um, inspired by him and his principles of unity and charity and fraternity and patriotism. So God bless to all. Thank you. Go Mets!
Go Yankees.